Hey everyone, this is KY Politics Guy. Today we will be discussing Amy McGrath and why she is not liked in Kentucky, and why she's unlikely to beat McConnell if she is the Democratic nominee for Senate in the United States Senate election in Kentucky in 2020. So at first glance, let's go down to the primary right here. McGrath and Booker. This has been back and forth ever since really about midway through June, and there are various instances of why this is the case that I will get to. But first, I want to talk about McGrath and where she came from, and frankly, why she's unpopular. It all starts in 2018. Amy McGrath was the Democratic nominee for Kentucky's 6th congressional district in 2018 as a Democrat to take on Republican incumbent Representative Andy Barr. She came pretty close to beating him, but she lost. Um, but because she won the primary, a lot of people were going to vote for her anyways, but this is where her unpopularity started. So Amy McGrath knocked off popular Lexington Mayor Jim Gray, who was also running to be the representative from the 6th District as a Democrat. Now, why she was unpopular is because a lot of people view her as a spoiler candidate. The reason being is because there has basically been evidence that Jim Gray would have done a lot better than her, if not beaten Andy Barr outright in this election, and that left a first impression of she's okay, but she's not as well known, and that was perhaps a big factor. But let me point to some evidence. So in this was the election in 2018. This is from Lexington, Fayette. This is the biggest city. It's a Democratic-leaning city in Kentucky's 6th District, the second biggest city in Lexington. As you can see, she only won the city of Lexington by about 25,000 votes. Now, the reason this is significant is because she did worse in Lexington than Andy Beshear in the 2019 governor's race, and compared to Jim Gray in Lexington in his 2016 Senate race. You got to think, Jim Gray did that well in 2016 when there was a red wave. What would he have done in 2018? He got 82,000 votes, on top of the fact that he was the popular Lexington mayor. Once you start looking at the data and really realizing what could have been, you have to realize that Jim Gray would have done significantly better than her. So, a lot of people blame her because she lost a winnable House race, and it was her fault. But, she ran, she won the primary. It is what it is. But I'm just saying, this is why a lot of people are angry, because she basically cost the Democrats a House race by winning that primary, but it's whatever. Now, next, she decided to run for Senate. This is where she becomes unpopular. Now, Kentucky House Minority Leader, his name was Rocky Adkins. He's now Beshear's senior advisor. And basically, Rocky Adkins, the only reason he didn't end up running for Senate, there was a lot of speculation he would. He's like a John Bel Edwards kind of figure. Well, basically, it's because McGrath got all this out-of-state funding, and people rushed to her thinking she was the best candidate when she wasn't. And it should have been Rocky Adkins. But basically, she got all this out-of-state funding, and he didn't want to go up against that. And Rocky Adkins is, as I will, mention later on in this video with evidence why he would have done better. McGrath, basically took him out. I viewed him as the only winnable candidate. Now moving on to the next part. McGrath, she really started to get on Kentuckians' nerves when she basically had Matt Jones, who is a very popular figure in Kentucky politics and Kentucky sports. He's the head of Kentucky Sports Radio, the most popular radio show in the state. It has a lot of influence. McConnell has called in and basically, somewhat debated Matt Jones on that radio show. That's how popular it is. Left or right, Republican or Democrat, when he talks about Kentucky sports, it doesn't have politics in it. That's like a different segment, but it's very, very popular. Behind, actually, I would say it's in front in terms of popularity of the Louisville Courier-Journal and the Lexington Herald-Leader. And basically, he was also the host of Hey Kentucky, and what she did was Matt Jones was going to run for Senate. He ended up not running for Senate, but he was critical of McGrath. There were multiple reasons that he was critical of her, but McGrath basically didn't like it, so her campaign manager pushed for LAX 18, which is the NBC affiliate in Lexington, to fire her. And when she did that, because Matt Jones was a popular figure and a Democrat, everybody blamed McGrath being kind of salty about his attacks. That's where her, popularity really starts to take a tumble. On top of people mad that she beat Jim Gray and knocked Rocky Adkins out of the primary, people were annoyed by that. But this was one where it really started to hurt her popularity among both Democrats and independents. Republicans already didn't like her. But this next one right here really shows you how this is all added up. People think she's, funded by out-of-state people or out-of-state donors from, California, New York, and Kentucky. That's how McConnell's ads are working. And but also, she made some very insensitive comments about Black Lives Matter. Regardless of what your opinion is on that, it's been boosting Booker because, that's not going to help among the Democratic base in Kentucky. And, basically, that was a major problem on her part because it's gotten to the point where her actions by her and her campaign have caused Charles Booker to take the lead on her in 2 of the last 3 primary polls conducted. Now, I don't know if Booker is going to beat her. A large part of the reason I say that is because there's already early voting in Kentucky, and a lot of people have already returned their ballots. And I really don't know if she's going to win the primary. There could be a huge boost for Booker, for Charles Booker at the end. Maybe Booker wins, maybe he doesn't. Either way, the fact that she raised $30 million, she's spending $3 million in this last week alone because she's terrified she's going to lose the primary. If she loses the primary, she has only herself to blame, and this primarily started when she decided to go after Matt Jones. This has just been a free fall for her. I never expected her to beat Mitch, regardless if she's the nominee. But this has turned into an unmitigated disaster for McGrath on all stages. But another interesting part was Elizabeth Warren endorsed her in 2018. As you can see, this was a tweet, or 2020. Or was it 2019? I can't remember. Either way, she endorsed her before, and then she endorsed Booker. And that was also after Bernie, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, Julian Castro, various other people endorsed Booker. If Booker wins, McConnell is just going to run ads against him and basically say he's a socialist backed by AOC and Bernie, which is going to work in the rural areas. But I still expect him to win because, as I said, Rocky Adkins was the only one who reasonably had a shot. But this really just shows you that all the momentum is on Charles Booker's side, and she just kind of had this unfortunate streak leading up to the primary, and I wouldn't be surprised if she lost. And the next part, this was a hypocritical statement because she was hand-selected by the Democratic Senatorial Campaign Committee, and she said this after everybody was endorsing Booker: they don't need senators from other states telling them what to do. That is, to say the least, incredibly hypocritical. And it doesn't take someone with a decent amount of education to realize that would hurt her popularity. And this next chart, which basically shows you, look at this. Look at this right here. Her popularity is almost twice less than McConnell because of that. Because her popularity has taken a huge hit among Democrats, not to mention independents. And, for someone that knocked more experienced politicians out of the way who probably could have won because she had all this national momentum from her good ads, I think people are finally sick of that. And, I would not be surprised if she won, or if she lost, the, primary at this point. But yeah, that's embarrassing. And for my last point, this is the map from the 2019 governor election when Andy Bashir won. There were 5 other statewide offices, such as Secretary of State, which was the other closest one, Attorney General, a state auditor, etc., etc. But basically, what ended up happening was that, you know, Matt Bevin was basically, how can I put this lightly, a jerk to teachers, to, you know, poor Kentuckians who relied on health care, and he basically screwed the pooch, to put it in a metaphorical way, and Andy Bashir knocked him off, but that's not going to happen. And my reason being is because all these counties are going to vote for Trump heavily. When Trump and basically Mitch's reelection campaign has all these ads that are going to run that basically say, McConnell has been championed by Trump and all this stuff, they're going to vote for him. I mean, he's very approved in Kentucky, being Trump, not Mitch, but he's going to ride Trump's coattails. Rocky Adkins, like I said, was the only one who could challenge him. And all these counties, as you can see, that had huge 40-point flips from Trump. Let's look at the 2016 map from the Senate. As you can see, these are all ruby red Republican. That's what's going to happen because it's not Rocky Adkins. And the unfortunate reality is, it's very, very unlikely that Mitch McConnell loses to any of his opponents in 2020, be it Booker or McGrath. And McGrath is just not liked because of everything I've just described, and she's basically shot herself in the foot, and she could even lose the primary. Well, that wraps up today's video. I hope you all enjoyed. Don't forget to subscribe, leave a thumbs up or a comment, and stay tuned for my next upload.